In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a recursive function. When writing a recursive function, we want to look at the patterns of outputs in order to express this function recursively. So when we look at the table h of x, let's look at the output values. Discover what is the pattern that is consistent throughout the table. We can create a third column. We're going to call it the delta column. That will represent the change that is consistent. The change that we notice from each output value is increasing by 2. This is a linear table since there has a constant difference. In order to write the table recursively, we're going to express it with the following notation. Since the function is named h of x, we're going to use the function notation to write it as h of x. H of x is equal to, we're going to use those brackets. In this first part of the function, we're going to write the very first entry. So we say h of x is equal to the output, which is 7, when x is equal to 3. Again, just using the very first entry in the table. We want to express this function as the patterns by consistently saying add 2, add 2, add 2. So now when I'm at the second entry, 4 and 9, I would use the previous entry to add 2 and get my 9. So we would use h of quantity x minus 1. That represents the previous entry, and we say plus 2. 2 is our delta. We would do this when x is greater than 3. So all values that are greater than 3, the input of 3, we would use h of x minus 1 plus 2. This is how we write the function recursively for the table h. Now, let's focus on the next table. It also is named h, and that's okay. So in order to write the function, again, we want to look at the pattern of the output values and find out what repeats. Well, clearly we see that this does not have the same sum or difference. So we will go ahead and determine if it has the same product. As I look at the table, I notice if I multiply every value by 2, I have a constant ratio. This is my little dot that represents time, so hopefully you can see it well. So 1 times 2 is 2, and so on. You can check your math with your calculator. We'll call this delta. So we're going to write a function for the second h of x table, and this is not linear since it has a common ratio. This is considered exponential. So we will write the recursive function as h of x. That's a kind of funny looking h. Let's go ahead and fix that. All right. H of x is equal to, and in this case, the first entry in this table we want to focus it is where the output is 1, and it's 1 when x is equal to 0. This time, since it's not repeatedly adding, it's repeatedly multiplying, we're going to use the multiplication. So we're going to use the same notation, h of quantity x minus 1, and we're going to say times 2. Now you can put the 2 in front or you can put the 2 behind. I'll let that be your preference. Do not forget your disclaimer. It is times 2 when x is now greater than 0. This will always be greater than the value that you start with. Since we started at 0 and our table is increasing, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we indicate that h of x minus 1 times 2 when x is in fact greater than 0. We have wrote a recursive function for both a linear table and an exponential.